Dickens is kind of making it seem like they're these wonderful people who were just like, oh, they were so innocent, like, this shouldn't have happened to them. Well, their death shouldn't have been jeered at, but...
Welcome to McBirdo's expedition into the unknown and terrible. We have been stuck here in the ice for an eternity. Come into the captain's cabin and warm yourself before you head back out onto the decks. Welcome to my cabin. How long have we been trapped in this infernal ice pack? Or in the summer, tropical estuary. Writers can embellish on a story that they've heard, but hearing the words of someone who actually witnessed an event, sometimes shocking, always amazing. I have not read this before, so we're going to experience it together. I'm going to break in with my opinions. Chances are, as you are a crew member of the HMS Measer, you are not easily upset by the dark and terrible. I will warn you now that these may not have the most politically acceptable ideas or language because they come from the past and things were different then. Hello! We are going to examine something that's considered a pretty important document in British legal history or contribution to the course of British history. This is Charles Dickens' attack on public execution, and it's because of his experiences at public executions and he and a group of other writers starting to speak out against public execution that eventually they stopped doing this. And it is kind of weird to think that they were still publicly executing people in Britain into the 1850s. Like, just hang them in public. Yeah. I mean, it was theater, it was entertainment. Let us all be amused by the spectacle of the execution, because we're civilized people. Let us hear what he had to say. It was a letter that Charles Dickens published in the Times on November 14th, 1849. And this is from the brilliant book, They Saw It Happen, an anthology of eyewitnesses' accounts of events in British history from 1689 to 1897. And the book was published in 1958, and it's old looking. Ta-da! It used to be a library book. It's awesome. So these are occasionally sliced. They've been edited in some places. Or in this one, I'm sure it's probably the whole letter. I think he added the ellipses for himself. The execution that Dickens watched was that of George and Maria Manning for the murder of Patrick O'Connor, who was their lodger. They robbed and murdered him. Apparently the last public hanging in England was in 1868. That's how long it took them to stop executing people in public. Sir, I was witness of the execution at Horsemonger Lane. Yes, Horsemonger Lane. This morning, I went there with the intention of observing the crowd gathered to behold it, and I had excellent opportunities of doing so. At intervals all through the night, and continuously from daybreak until after the spectacle was over. I believe that a sight so inconceivably awful as the wickedness and levity of the immense crowd collected at the execution this morning could be imagined by no man, and could be presented in no heathen land under the sun. The horrors of the gibbet and of the crime which brought the wretched murderers to it faded in my mind before the atrocious bearing, looks, and language of the assembled spectators. When I came upon the scene at midnight, the shrillness of the cries and howls that were raised from time to time, denoting that they came from a concourse of boys and girls already assembled in the best places, made my blood run cold. It's weird. It is. It's totally weird to think of children going to witness the execution. Like, hello, Mom, what should we do today? I don't know, Skippy. Why don't we go down and watch the execution? They're hanging a man and his wife. Oh, how lovely, Mama. Let us go do that. It's weird. But on the other hand, these are people who see death all the time. You know, you might be one of 10 children, 3 of which made it to adulthood. Maybe if you were lucky, 1 in 2 made it to adulthood. Hurrah! If they're even lucky to have a mummy at all. Hurrah! When the day dawned, thieves, low prostitutes, as opposed to the high prostitutes, ruffians and vagabonds of every kind flocked onto the ground with every variety of offensive and foul behavior. Fightings, faintings, whistlings, imitations of Punch. That would be the Punch and Judy, the marionette puppet play.
I love a bit of drama.
Brutal jokes, tumultuous demonstrations of indecent delight when swooning women were dragged out of the crowd by police with their dresses disordered. Oh my goodness, did we see an ankle? Oh my goodness, even maybe a knee. Oh. I shouldn't laugh. It just... Whew. What would Dickens think of today? Gave a new zest to the general entertainment. When the sun rose brightly as it did, it gilded thousands upon thousands of upturned faces. So inexpressibly odious in their brutal mirth or callousness that a man had cause to feel ashamed of the shape he wore and to shrink from himself as fashioned into the image of the devil. I'm of 2 minds about this. Yes, we don't watch people actually get killed. Except in videos that get taken down off of social media. But we watch movies of incredible realism of people dying. Or not incredible realism, but it feels like incredible realism of people dying. And it's... We're nasty venal creatures. When the 2 miserable creatures who attracted all this ghastly sight about them were turned quivering into the air, there was no more emotion, no more pity, no more thought that 2 immortal souls had gone to judgment, no more restraint in any of the previous obscenities than if the name of Christ had never been heard in the world, and there were no more belief among men that they had perished like beasts. Well, yeah, but these 2 people, actually, I sort of know this story. They lured a man through, I believe, the charms of his wife, and he was really wealthy, and he liked her, and they killed him and stole his money, and then they tried to run away, and then they were brought back, and they were executed. They weren't nice people. I don't want to watch a public execution, but I do find that Dickens is kind of making it seem like they're these wonderful people who were just like,
They were so innocent, like, this shouldn't have happened to them.
well, their deaths shouldn't have been jeered at, but I am solemnly convinced that nothing that ingenuity could devise to be done in the city in the same compass of time could work such ruin as one public execution, and I stand astounded and appalled by the wickedness it exhibits. I know we can't see if it was a deterrent because capital punishment isn't believed to be a deterrent, but there's a part of me that's like, did it deter people? Did knowing your death would be entertainment? It is entertainment. Let's make no mistake about it. It is entertainment. Would it change your mind about doing something awful? I don't know. I do not believe that any community can prosper where such a scene of horror and demoralization as was enacted this morning outside Horsemonger Lane Jail is presented at the very doors of good citizens and is passed by unknown or forgotten. And when, in our prayers and thanksgiving for the season, we are humbly expressing before God our desire to remove the moral evils of the land, I would ask your readers to consider whether it is not time to think of this one and root it out. I am, sir, your faithful servant, Charles Dickens. Devonshire Terrace, Tuesday, November 13th. I just find it really difficult to be like, oh, it's terrible. I mean, I'm just of two minds. I think that there are some people that deserve the chop. I can list like 10 right off my head right now. I think if you do something really, really, really horrible, like murder a lot of people or torture people, you know, I don't have a problem with the death penalty. But at the same time, should it be public? It's not something I would personally want to go watch. When I think of places where they do have public execution, I don't think of them favorably, so it's probably a good thing we don't have it. Maybe I'm just being a bit reactionary because I think that Dickens is being a bit like, think of the murderers. And I know he's more saying, don't think of the murderers, but think of what it does to us and what it said about us. And that I get. I totally get that because it doesn't say anything good about us. The more I think about it, the more uncomfortable I am. Because when I started this, I was like, Dickens, whatever. I mean, we shouldn't have public executions, but it's damaging us. Is it really? Is it? No, it's not a good idea. There we go. Problem solved. Tune in next week.